The big fella's back with a
Finally,
smile
dude.
on his face. With a
Finally.
smile. You've been jet setting.
It's been a lot, man. It's been a lot these last 2 weeks.
It's my turn next week.
Yeah, it's your turn. But I can't complain, man. I mean, I was in Cabo for the wife's 40th and then come back for a day only to jump on another plane to Vegas for Super Bowl week. And then get back from Vegas and have to go to a daddy-daughter dance, which probably was the best thing to happen during the whole 2 weeks. Just me and my 9-year-old daughter, Ava.
Those are fun.
She had a blast. And the thing is, last year when we went, it was me, her, and my oldest, who was in 5th grade. And my Ava wasn't feeling it because the oldest always gets a lot of attention. It's kind of her, she's a social butterfly. But Ava, just me and her, one-on-one, it was pretty cool to see how happy she was out there. But then after that, I got to get up early Sunday morning and, of course, plan for our 2nd annual Super Bowl party up in our neighborhood clubhouse, which was a success.
Yeah, you had the setup. So we have Super Bowl to talk about. We have NFL awards. I've been having fun with your Steelers fans while you've been when the boss is away, the mice will play, or whatever the saying is, because I've been having a good time just watching the meltdowns. But there was a few you hit on something on Twitter while you were gone that I actually think is valid, and we'll get into that. We'll revisit that tweet.
Mm-hmm.
Super Bowl, halftime shows, food, but I need to rein it all the way back in because I need you to say last time we spoke, we talked to Vital Vegas, Scott, to get you ready for your trip. So you need to kind of to set the scene for me. How was Vegas? What was it like? Because the videos I saw, I wanted no part of.
Well, I'll tell you what. I didn't do a whole lot of partying. This was by far the most mature Vegas trip I've ever taken in my life. I went out there for a reason. I went out there to do some networking and some mingling.
Hold on. Let's preface this by saying the most mature trip you've ever had in Vegas in your life still got me a picture sent of you in front of a giant Dorito about to scale the Luxor.
I'm about to scale the Luxor, get my King Kong on and take a bite off the top of that pyramid. It looks so good. I'm a Dorito fanatic, but no, that's about as wild as it got for me. I mean, we did go to a couple of former player parties and whatnot that were over by like 10. I did my usual gambling.
Oh,
I had a few drinks, but did not hit one club up. Did not.
That's a win when you don't get your arm twisted into. Oh, come on, just for a little bit.
Right.
And then you see the sun when you walk out the building.
Not dropping any types of money on table service or bottles, or I didn't go to any establishments. Yeah. So it's about as mature as I could possibly be in Vegas. I was pretty proud of myself. And when I got home, I didn't have that Linus cloud of shame. Remember Linus?
We all know it. Oh, we all know it.
Just that filth that you walk into the house with. I didn't have that.
Did you see the joke about somebody was on social media getting advice for like what to do in Vegas? Somebody said, because they're labeled differently. So what is the difference between a gentleman's club and a strip club? How do you decipher between the two? And I almost had tears in my eyes because the one strip club answered said something about the afterbirth scar or something like that. I was like, damn.
That's pretty graphic.
Strip clubs are ruthless to each other out there trying to get the people in.
That is funny.
That is just savage as all get out, just going straight at them. But no, good for you. I'm proud of you because it is hard to do. You get out there and the world is your oyster. But I saw cars. The Live tournament looked like fun.
Oh, that was real fun. And actually, I got to send you some clips so you can work on your swing. I got a couple of slow-mo videos of John Rahm's swing and Garcia's swing, and who else did I get?
It ain't gonna help me. Just so you
Brooks
know,
Koepka.
I've watched endless hours of YouTube videos, and nothing helps. Nothing.
I don't want to have to give you 15 strokes, pause, and for every round of golf.
I don't ever want you to give me 15 strokes.
Dude,
when church rate was left,
I'm trying to get you better so that it's more competitive. But yes, I'm going to send them anyway. I'm going to make you watch these things, and hopefully you improve, so I'm not whooping up on you as much. Much.
You had a good time. You had a good. Yeah. We do have to. We need to have a pod me up golf outing somewhere.
That would be dope. Yes.
We got to figure that out. Some kind of tweet up golf outing. It doesn't have to be huge. Maybe we figure out the first, I don't know, there's 2 of us. So the first 14 people or 10 people or something like that, we just have some foursomes pause, go out and play a little golf. But no,
yeah,
I can wait. You were in the thick of golf already down there, golfing and tennising and whatnot down in nice weather, and I'm up here just, man,
dude,
we're so close to spring. Just let me get outside. The damn groundhog didn't see a shadow, so we're good.
You're good. Okay, so what is the weather up in Ohio right now?
Last week we had 60s. 60s and sunny. Today it's like 43 and sunny. But it's getting cold at night, but it's been nice. It's not been bad. No, they had some rain that they thought would be a little snow overnight that ended up trickling further east. So we've been good up here, knock on wood. But
that's good. I'll be up there this weekend. My dad's big 6-0.
That's a big one.
Is this Saturday? Yeah, he doesn't want to talk about it though.
I hope I get to 60.
I do too.
Tell your dad I said happy birthday.
Yeah, I will. He doesn't want to hear about it. He's one of those guys that as he gets older, at each monumental birthday, he just doesn't even acknowledge that it happened. I remember when he turned 30 and 40 and he was upset. So 60's not going to be an issue, but yeah.
You're going to get to your dad's house and you're going to be like, your dad's going to be like, I'm going to Vegas now. You're just here to take me to the airport. This is 60, baby.
You should see. My dad looks like he's like 40. He's built like a Greek god.
Really?
So I don't even understand.
Just an Adonis. He's just an Adonis.
I just hope to look like that when I'm 60. It's amazing.
Good for him. He's still, I think you told me he's still out like playing tennis and stuff.
Yeah, not as much.
He still got after a little bit?
He's more pickleball. He's having some lower mobility issues, but no, he's trying to get into some pickleball. He's mean. My competitive streak definitely comes from him. Definitely comes from him because he hates losing more than he likes winning, especially to me. And I take no mercy when I go at him. So,
well, before we get into the defensive player of the year, the NFL coach of the year, the rookie of the year, the MVP, all the stuff that happened in awards, we have to go Super Bowl. You had a little Super Bowl party. Right. Actually, here you go, Chiefs Kingdom. Just for you. Give me Arrowhead, baby. Give me Arrowhead. Just for you.
That was it was a competitive game. I'm not going to say it's the most exciting game. Not a lot of
It was a good game, not a fun game. It was a good game, but not a fun game.
It was a good competitive game. 2 teams matched up, playing probably the best ball out of everybody. But I will say this. It's kind of scary for the NFL. The Chiefs won. We all saw that. They were not a great team. The Chiefs were not a great team this year. And they hit their stride. They did just enough to win each game. But they were the worst team out of the 4 teams that made it to the Final Four. Worse than Detroit, I think. Worse than Baltimore.
By far their worst Super Bowl team.
Yeah, but they still won it all. Dude, you can be great. You cannot be great. But if you have a GOAT at quarterback, it makes all the difference in the world. Not to say that their defense didn't ball out. They played
their defense won that game.
Yeah, their defense won
the defense won that game. The defense, and that is about the most impressive gauntlet you're going to run in the NFL in today's game. Miami is Miami, but there's still weapons there.
Right.
Miami's a different team on the road than they are at home, especially in the weather they got. But going through Miami is no slouch.
Right.
Then you go to Buffalo, right?
Right. They went to Buffalo.
And then at Baltimore.
3 road games, man.
And then the 49ers. And I said this to some buddies I was talking about the game with. The 49ers are probably the most complete team in the NFL.
Yeah.
They were the better team. The Chiefs just had the all-time great at quarterback.
And they had a go candidate as a head coach.
Yes. But the other team that is possibly right on par with the 49ers is the Baltimore Ravens. That is as complete a team in the NFL right now as there is out there. The Ravens and 49ers are the 2 most complete teams in the NFL, and the Chiefs beat both of them in different ways. Every game they played, they won in a different way. And
that's what's coaching. Scary.
Yes.
That goes to coaching. That goes to a quarterback that has a high expectation of play, that he makes everybody rise to his level, especially when it comes to execution. And
when he did not play well in the first half. Let's be honest.
Right,
he did not play well at all in the first half.
When you're going through these different game plans for different teams, and you got a quarterback that is that detail oriented, and you can trust him to do exactly what you need him to do, and it rises everybody up, because that receiving core is not good. I mean, you got Kelsey. Obviously, Kelsey is Kelsey. He's a GOAT. But the X factor in all those games, despite the fact he didn't play well early, is Patrick Mahomes. There's no way around it. Mm-hmm.
You just mentioned something, because I saw a bunch of slanderous buffoonery. It was before this. Travis Kelce is the GOAT at tight end. I saw people throwing out names like Jason Witten and Gronk. They're fine players. Travis Kelce is the best tight end to ever play the game.
Yes. So there is some caveat to that. Yes, he's the best receiving tight end, and he's a good enough blocker,
above average blocker.
He's that great of a receiver that it puts him over the top. Because when you think about all around tight ends, Gronk is probably the best all around tight end.
Right, but we're also talking accomplishments. When you talk,
we got to talk about accomplishment. Yeah. So if we're talking about just the tight end that you build in the lab on Madden,
that's Kellen Winslow Jr. That's Gronk. That's
Gronk and Kellen Winslow Jr. or
Antonio Gates. That's right. Jimmy Graham.
Yeah, but Kelce has the accomplishment. He has every single, mind you, he's not a wide receiver. He's a tight end. But he has all the receiving, postseason receiving. And where do we judge guys on? How well you play when the lights are the brightest. And he has every single postseason record for receiving. Not tight ends, but receiving, period. So there's no way you can't put him up there.
So when I look at the game and start breaking down the game, I've been accused of being a Brock Purdy hater, and we've said it on this show multiple times. I am not a Brock Purdy hater. I hate hyperbole. I hate that it's either all the way up here and you're the greatest of all time, or you just suck and you're no good. Brock Purdy is a fine quarterback. What I also hate is, because we're in such a quarterback-driven NFL now, quarterbacks are above reproach. I hate when people are held to different standards. The amount of blame I've seen given to Kyle Shanahan, the 49ers defense, Christian McCaffrey, for Christ's sakes, getting the hate that he's gotten because, God forbid, he fumbles. Everybody around quarterbacks are expected to play perfect all the time, but we never call quarterbacks out on their mishaps, unless it's somebody that is a hot fire, a Baker Mayfield. Like, their personality rubs people the wrong way, if that makes sense.
Or they're a little bit reckless. So
eccentric and reckless. And
Josh Allen gets, I don't know, he gets criticized, and I think appropriately, because he turns the ball over and he makes boneheaded plays often enough that he loses. And so he hasn't won anything of significance since he's been in Buffalo. So I think all the criticism going his way is still,
it's warranted.
It's warranted, but yet and still, he's everybody's favorite to win the MVP every year. And so, and he gets that caveat. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, you were just about to hit. I think there's the caveat, because you've done great things.
Right. Yeah, he's done great things, and essentially everybody sees in Buffalo that team can't survive without Josh Allen. It is obvious that team is all around. It's either him making the plays or nobody. That's not that case in San Fran.
No, and the point that I've made about Brock Purdy, it is not. Brock Purdy's in his second year. Brock Purdy has never even had a full offseason because of the elbow surgery that he had last season. He is not a finished product. The 49ers are better off with him, not just from a salary cap standpoint, but because he's already where Jimmy G was at Jimmy G's ceiling, and Brock Purdy has not hit his ceiling yet, if that makes sense. At least I don't believe he has. But, and this is the nuance that I'm going to talk about, you don't get to shove Brock Purdy down my throat for the better part of an entire football season. At least, 75% of the football season as the front runner for NFL MVP. And then when he has an average subpar playoffs and Super Bowl, you get what else do you expect? He's a 7th-round pick. He's Mr. Irrelevant. No,
you can't have it.
We're not
ways.
moving the goalposts.
Yeah,
you don't get to pump him up as the league MVP all season long. And then when he falls short and doesn't play well, he is still due criticism for them not winning. Sometimes the ball just bounces the right way too. That punt, that fluke fumbled punt that Kansas City got, that crap happens. Like that sucks. But there was a stretch when let's rewind to the start of the game. Kansas City started, even after the McCaffrey fumble, 2 3-and-outs. Didn't even get a first down. Started the second half with 2 3-and-outs. They were shut out until the very last seconds of the first half. Kansas City didn't score. Travis Kelce had 1 catch. Dre Greenlaw going out was huge. But in that time that Kansas City could not move the ball, and by the way, they put the ball on the ground too, aside from 1 deep pass to Mecole Hardman, Kansas City did not move the ball on San Francisco in the first half. But in that time, San Francisco's offense did not extend the lead.
No. They only got a 10-point lead, right? And so
yes, it was 10-3 at halftime, 10-0 right before halftime. So that is on the offense, and your quarterback, who in that span went like 3 for 13 or 4 for 14 passing in that stretch in the first half where they did not extend the lead, where they went away from the run. And that's the nuance that I'm talking about with people. Brock Purdy didn't play bad. He didn't play great. He was just a guy, and that's who Brock Purdy is right now. But what Brock Purdy isn't is the league MVP, because San Francisco would still be there with 20 other quarterbacks in the NFL right now.
That was a lot. There's a lot to take in right there. Pause. Well, but like it just but I mean, I have no argument against it. Purdy is a piece that fits into the puzzle. The puzzle does not fit around him. He is not the one that moves the needle, but he does a good job at being what he needs to be for the needle to move, you know? And so
he's not elite, but he is a star in his role. Like he is a star in his role. He's
not a game manager. Like there's nuances. No, he's not a game manager. He's not Trent Dilfer. He's not Gardner Minshew even. He makes plays, but he looks like a second-year quarterback. He is just afforded the best supporting cast in the NFL, and it's not really that close, to be truthfully honest. And so, like, he's taking advantage of that, and he is who exactly they need him to be. And so this is, I mean, you have to be excited for him if you're a San Francisco 49er, but don't go overboard talking about he should have been MVP. Like, yes, the numbers look great, but a good portion of that is, or the main reason is because Shanahan is good at making quarterbacks look good, and Shanahan and John Lynch did a great job of supporting or bringing pieces in that just work extremely well. Like when you think they had four players who got 1,000 yards or more of total offense, a wide receiver. IU, Debo had over 1,000 between the rushing and the receiving. CMC led the league in total offense, and then you had a tight end go for over 1,000. So, like, it's crazy. And this isn't Peyton Manning. I remember Peyton had that one time with the Denver Broncos some years back. Maybe one other team, or I think maybe Detroit. Detroit was close. Maybe not
Stafford.
During the Stafford years, and so, but this was a great offense surrounded by great weapons, and Brock Purdy played damn good this year, but he is not a top 5 quarterback,
and he's a part of that. Like he played well in his role. He didn't hurt the team, right? But it's just he's just a guy right now. He's the guy that fits that offense who could be interchanged with any number of guys in there. And this is where the big difference for me is. And you and I were texting a little bit, and we've talked about this throughout the season. The biggest reason why I thought the Chiefs would win is they only played 4 games against top 20 defenses all year long. So there was a lot of garbage defense that San Francisco played this year.
Right.
But mostly Shanahan can scheme up zone beaters like it's going out of style. And Brock Purdy, to me, this is the most impressive thing about Brock Purdy to me as a second-year quarterback is he has a very high football IQ. The work is there. You could tell he's putting the work in the film room so that when his eyes see what he sees, he knows where to go with the ball. here's the problem with that. When you go up against a team like the Browns, who they lost to, and now like the Chiefs, when teams play man, it's not just about recognizing the coverage and throwing to a spot. You then have to make an elite throw against teams who play really good man coverage because the windows are tighter.
The windows are so much tighter. You have to extend plays consistently,
which he can.
He can
move a little bit.
He can throw off script, and he can do all that stuff. But can he do it consistently enough? And can he do it in the big moments consistently enough? And no, he can't right now. He just can't. And so it is not like we didn't see shades of this in the previous 2 playoff games that they played. For all intents and purposes, they should have lost to Green Bay.
Yeah, the Packers outplayed them.
Detroit Lions outplayed them. Like they should have. Like both those teams.
The real MVP of that game was Dan Campbell.
Right.
For the 49ers. I mean, that's who lost the game for the Lions.
And so this is actually the first game where they had a lead, to be honest. Like they had a lead, and I don't know what Shanahan has to do. There is something missing. Despite his beautiful mind when it comes to offensive scheming, there is something that makes him consistently lose. And this is 3 Super Bowls now, that there was some kind of decision at the end that you question with Atlanta. It was like, why'd you stop giving the ball to Devontae Freeman? I can't remember exactly what happened 3 years ago when they played the Chiefs, but
there's a tendency where guys get the smartest guy in the room, and especially when you're calling your own plays and you're outthinking yourself. And to be fair, Andy Reid did it too. That was what caused the dust up with Travis Kelce on the sidelines. No reason for Travis Kelce not to be on the field in the red zone, even if it's just as a decoy.
Right.
Put him on the field. And then it was the guy that Kelce would have been blocking that caused the fumble. Now, that's Pacheco's fault. You don't put the damn ball on the ground. But Kelce should be on the field, even if
he should always be on the field.
Yes.
Always.
Did you see the game-winning touchdown pass? Yeah. Kelce's on the field the entire play. He's nothing more than a decoy. He's looking up at the Jumbotron watching Mahomes pass the ball. Didn't even pretend to run around. He's literally walking in the end zone, staring up at the screen, watching the play unfold because he knew the ball's not coming to me. I'm a decoy, but they're going to crash to me. And Hardman, it was the same play they ran last year against the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
And
you remember the
coaches
did you hear about the name of that play though? It just made me hungry because we're it was called corn dog with a little bit of mustard. Andy Reid, he's the only coach that could have named it that. And so I love me some Andy Reid because he is a fellow big man who loves his food.
And he's embraced his big manness.
He has.
Big manness.
Give me some nuggies. I want some nuggies.
Yes. You got to embrace being a big man. Yeah. Listen, we played Bert Kreischer on here a few weeks ago. Bert Kreischer lost a lot of weight. He looked angry. Bert Kreischer fat, looked happy.
He's happy.
He was always happy. Just give him his alcohol. Let's call Bert Kreischer for some happy hour. I saw him out.
We need that. We need to get him on the show, man. That would be awesome.
Oh, that would be
fantastic. Have a great time.
But it was a good game. It was a good Super Bowl. Like it was not a fun game to watch.
Before we go too far past, I want to rewind a little bit to that's dust up with Kelce and Andy Reid. That was bull. That was some BS on Kelce's part. I get his frustration. But when I saw it initially, no matter what is actually said, no matter if the bunt was accidental, you don't show your coach up like that on the sideline.
No,
you don't.
Listen, I agree with you, but it's also being made way too big a deal now.
Well, now because they won, but if they lost, it would have been
no. I'm not talking about the from us talking about it from a sports aspect. I'm talking about the social media reaction of Taylor Swift should be worried for her safety after seeing Travis Kelce react to.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh yeah, it's all over the. Yes,
people went that far.
Oh yeah.
So now he's an abuser or something. Like
yes, that's where it went. Oh my god! And really, it's probably Taylor's fault because Travis, he took the Mickey method. Women weaken legs. You don't get none the night before the Super Bowl because you got to have your legs. So that's just facts. It's science. It's science. Yeah. So he was angry. He was ready to go. And if you lose the Super Bowl, you're not getting them that night.
Oh, you still might. It depends. You can get sympathy booty.
That's
sympathy
just sad.
Booty is a thing.
That's sad booty, though.
That's fine.
It's just sad booty. You don't. Nobody wants
booty is booty.
Listen,
booty.
You know who my hero is now, though? He is a national treasure, and he needs to be protected at all costs. Is Jason Kelsey. Seeing Jason Kelsey at the after parties with the DJs, and he's up there.
Dude,
he's up there with the DJ.
He is having the time of his life, man. Oh my
gosh. Every time I see that guy move in a drunken fashion, all that plays in my head is play that funky music. Why? Like, I feel like that's going on loop in Jason Kelsey's head all day long. Like the little monkey playing the cymbals. He is just wonderful. What a wonderful time he has.
I can't imagine. Like, he seems to be fully embracing this offseason, being there just for the older brother support of Travis. I don't know if he suits it up again. Like, the way that he's enjoying this, I think he's done. I think he's fully done. He's going to go by way of Gronkowski. He's going to
some TV network is going to pay him a ton of money,
right?
Because he is just, and he'll do his podcast, and it might not be like calling games or something. It might be like what Shannon Sharp's doing. You go and you do studio stuff, and then you have a podcast like him and Travis's, because Travis is long in the tooth. Like, he's getting up there in his career. So you then take that podcast to, post playing career and keep doing that stuff. But what a fun time he had. And it was, you're not wrong. Travis was wrong for showing up, Andy Reid, but the hyperbole, the taking it that extra mile.
I didn't know they took it that far. Just keeping it strictly football. You don't do that, but winning cures all. And they slugged and made up, and it's water in the bridge for them. And so,
absolutely.
You just don't do that. But I mean, that lit a fire, and I guess whatever he said, the script got completely reversed in the second half because he had 8 catches.
I don't know his name, but who wished that fire wouldn't have been lit is whoever that DB was in the fourth quarter who tried to tackle him on the sidelines. I'm pretty sure that his shoulder got thrown into the ether sphere with the guy dancing at the Usher concert, because that guy still hasn't landed. Did you see him?
Yeah.
You see them chuck my man in the background, Usher just out there skating and doing this thing that just shot out of a cannon. I was like, oh, there he goes.
Dude, speaking of the show, speaking of the Super Bowl halftime show, I was going into this, I was hyped because I had saw Usher last year in his residency in Vegas out at the MGM Grand. And
that's where it was. I was trying to remember where his residency was.
Yeah, it was at the MGM at the Live Nation Dolby, whatever they call it, place. And so
that seats about 5,000, right? 3,500, 5,000.
Something like that. It wasn't as big as I thought it was, but it was big enough, And so his show was amazing. It was probably the best concert I had went to at this time. So I had high expectations for this halftime show, and he didn't disappoint. But we talked about it as well, and I agree with your point, because when I went back, we went the next day, yesterday. We didn't have the kids go to school yesterday either, because we felt it was only appropriate. Monday should be a damn holiday.
Yes, I mean, this is a tale as old as time. We debate this every single year. Move President's Day, or move the Super Bowl back to where President's Day is the day after,
right?
Or something. Like, it's just have Monday be off,
right? But this show ranks high up there. I thought when I first saw it, I was going to put it in my top 5, but after going back and watching a few, there's probably right outside the top 5.
Listen, you could mute Shakira's performance and it might be top 5. Because them hips don't lie.
They don't lie at all.
They do not.
Actually, my favorite one was Bruno Mars, dude.
Yes.
His show in 2014 at MetLife up in New York.
He did really good.
That drum solo, like he started that thing off amazing.
Bruno is like a mix between Usher and Justin Timberlake, like
with some James Brown thrown in there.
Yes, like he just pulls from different areas. Like, he can sing, he can dance, it can go upbeat, it can go slow. Him, Usher, Justin Timberlake, they can do all that stuff.
Right.
I like Bruno Mars a lot.
They can serenade you, and then they can go out there and show you that footwork, and both are equally impressive. But I will say this, the thing that I'm noticing with halftime shows, and you touched on it when we talked, that I would kind of grade Usher's down some. His catalog is so massive. It's so massive, and he tried to get through a lot of it. And it left you wanting more from the songs that he did get to, but he would cut them off too quick, like that DJ as you get pissed off at the bar, at the club. He plays like a little snippet of a song, you get hyped to it, and then he goes to the next one.
Yeah, just left you there all bricked up. Got nothing to.
Yeah. And so I think Usher's was his own worst enemy in the fact that he tried to get too many songs into the performance. He only had 15 minutes, so
it's smart though. So like I look at it from the performance side, and that was my negative from the performance side, because again, you had Lil Jon and Luda there. We could have gone Lovers and Friends. There was so much more he could have got to, and just let it simmer, marinate a little more than it did.
Right.
But Usher hasn't put out a new song in so long, and it was brilliant on his part, because what's everybody going to be doing after that show? All these young people are going to be looking up those songs. And he's going to be getting clicks on Spotify.
He does have a couple of new songs this year. He come out with a couple of new songs that were actually pretty good this year.
But he sampled it all because, he's preheating the oven before he cooks.
Oh yeah, he's coming out with an album now, right?
Yes, and
he's coming out with an album, and he's going back on tour. He's coming to Atlanta in August to kind of solidify his legacy here in Atlanta after the Super Bowl show. I think it's in August, but he's coming here.
What's funny is before his residency in Vegas, and again, this is why it's a brilliant marketing ploy by him. He came and played Columbus here in Columbus. He was downtown Columbus, not an arena, not a club, but we had this like little outdoor area called the Columbus Commons.
Mm-hmm.
And he just played the Columbus, like it had fallen off that far. This was before his Vegas residency.
Was it part of like some kind of summer event that you guys throw? Some kind of festival?
It wasn't a festival. They do regular concerts there. So let me put this in full perspective for you. Hanson a couple weeks later did a show there with
String.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness. They're like 50 years old, aren't they? How old are those kids now?
They're like 35.
Yeah, they're wow.
Oh, do you not know about my wife's affinity for Hanson?
No.
Bro.
She has an affinity for Hanson?
Bro. So the last time my wife went to Vegas, I go to Vegas a lot. My wife's on like an every other year schedule. The last time she went to Vegas with me was because Hanson was playing there.
Oh, Lord.
We went and saw Hanson in Vegas at a bowling alley. You know that bowling alley that's between like the Link and Flamingo by the big Ferris wheel?
Yeah.
There's a little bowling alley back there. They were playing in this bowling alley. I was standing and it was so awkward because there was about 200 people in here, all 30-something women, me, and like 15 other guys. But everybody's like under 6 foot tall. And my wife's like, we got to be right up by stage. So it's like my head sticking out over all these. And I'm just like eye to eye with Hanson, not knowing. I know like 3 of their songs. I'm just like, bop. Let's get the bop so that I can at least bob my shoulders a little bit.
Right.
And the funny thing about that is like now that they're grown and hit puberty, their music sounds good. It sounds like 90s, like almost that contemporary rock music because they're post-pubescent.
Right.
And
their voice have gotten a little more mature.
So it's like, oh, that's a different twist on bop. But yeah, so Usher.
Bop. Bop. Bop.
It's like hardcore rock. But Usher was playing that same area.
Usher was playing the same venue. Hanson played that too. Yeah, that's quite a. He did a smart thing. Went out to Vegas, and I think what's crazy is when we went out there and saw his residency. I think at that time it wasn't as big as it's become, and I think his show was about to end early. Then it just got extended because nostalgia. People came back, and now I think that was a big reason why he was chosen as the halftime performer because he was the hottest show in Vegas.
That's what Vegas is, man. Decision. I try to tell people all the time, like you'll have your Bruno Mars, your Adele's, like a few of them will do a couple residencies and tours, but Vegas by and large is not for the current hot acts.
Right.
It's a very nostalgic ridden city because the theaters are so small. So like I saw Aerosmith out in Vegas. I've seen quite a few people out in Vegas.
So Maroon 5 is about to start there. That's the new act that's coming out for this year. So,
and they're fine, but it's a 3,500, 4,000 seat venue, most of them. So when you think of a guy like Bruno Mars could fill Madison Square Garden, no problem.
Right.
You don't need to do Vegas, and you don't need to do the halftime show if your songs are in current top 40, hot 40 rotation, because everybody's already hearing your stuff. But for a guy like Usher, and we're aging ourselves here, but Usher was hot when I was in high school, like had a song every other week. And the kids now haven't heard that.
Usher ebb and flows. He'll come out with something, 1 or 2 songs. He'll feature on somebody's song, but his albums don't hit. Like Confessions was his last album that people really went nuts over.
Yeah. Well, you know what Confessions was about? It's because he's been raising that damn kid that he knocked up with his side piece. That's what the song was about, Trey. He's finally free. Now that kid's in college, he's got to pay for college. Usher did one dumb thing, though.
What's that?
He went and got married after the show.
I saw that. He saw that he got married to his longtime girlfriend. Good for him, man. He's been doing a lot of. He's been doing a lot of Whitechapel. He's been doing a lot of freaking on these stages lately. A whole lot of freaking. He needed to go sit his butt down some.
That's why it was dumb. You need to settle down, but you do that before you get up on stage and take your shirt off and have all these middle-aged women swooning for you again.
But he got it all. He got it all out. He's like, "This is it, baby. This is all. I'm gonna grind up on Alicia Keys. I'm gonna get my sweaty chest, so the world can see, and then it's all yours." So
that's probably what it was. She probably came up to him after and was like, "I saw how you was holding Alicia Keys on that stage. We're getting married now, or it's over."
Right.
Fine. We're going to the little Whitechapel where Stu got married to the stripper in a Hangover, and we're getting married. If you don't do it, you're gonna have a new song to sing about with a broken windpipe. So
good for him, man. But no, his show was good.
I liked it though. I liked it. I thought it was good.
We had to go recap yesterday. Even my daughter came down and watched it in the basement with us as we went through. She showed him the Michael Jackson Super Bowl halftime show.
That's the best one to me.
Yeah, the Prince.
Think what you want about Michael, but where do you fall on Prince?
I love the Prince one. It was just
not the Super Bowl show. I mean his music, because I am not a fan of Prince's music at all.
I am, dude. But the thing is, I don't hear it enough. And so when I go back and actually listen to it, and when I actually think about the songs that weren't like the chart toppers, when I go listen to an album, he is such a talented human being. So that's talented.
I have no doubt that he's talented. It's just that it's so like certain rock bands, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have all like people play an instrument. First of all, Prince can play like a ton of instruments. Like he's probably one of the more talented musicians to ever walk the face of the earth. But the songs that got regular play, it was just never.
Right. Those songs leave a lot to be desired. Yeah. But that's why you got to dig into some of his albums. He has some good music.
You got to give me a reason to dig. You got to give me a reason to dig. Put out something that's.
Come on. You go back when Doves Cry, Diamonds and Pearls.
When Doves Cry is awful.
Oh, it's a great song.
When Doves Cry is bad. Those are the songs I'm talking about. They're no good. It's like the same with like certain rock bands. Like they're talented, not for me though. Like I'm good.
Everybody to each their own. I get it.
Yeah, I don't judge anybody.
Prince. So I felt very similarly to you about Prince, but because I was always an MJ fan, and everybody was like, Prince is better than MJ. I'm like, no, that's not true. But I went.
Was that a thing?
And actually did. Yeah, it was a thing. Or they say he's more talented. There was no doubt
like,
who was
it was like
Beatles,
star. Rolling Stones, and like that sort of thing. Okay. Yeah.
And so, no, I took the time to actually listen to some Prince, and my wife's a huge Prince fan. So, I've grown a better appreciation for him and his music and the type of artist that he was. And then it did help that Dave Chappelle and Charlie Murphy did the best skit of all time.
That skit is phenomenal. Game blouses.
You love some pancakes. Me and my friends.
Is Prince playing grab ass when he's setting these pics?
One of the greatest skits of all time. So that kind of helped me too.
Dave Chappelle is a genius. He is just a genius.
He is, man. But no, like the Super Bowl. There were some great Super Bowl halftime shows that ranks up there with me, but Usher held his own, and it made for an enjoyable Super Bowl experience altogether. The game was good, like we said, not great. You're not going to sit there and rank that game better than the Cardinals Steelers game. I'm not even being biased. That was just a great game.
No, because the Cardinals Steelers game had it all. You had defense, you had offense. Like this was just honestly, this was like a heavyweight fight almost. It was like beating each other up to see who could just get to the end up top.
It's a whole lot of jabs.
Yeah, and it was
whole lot of jabs, not a whole lot of haymakers.
San Francisco held Kansas City to 19 points in regulation. I mean, it was just a close game. It wasn't a great game. It was just a close game.
Right.
So, but I thought the Steelers and Cardinals game was one of the best ones ever.
It had everything.
The Patriots Falcons game is one of my favorite ones for a couple reasons. It was like Rocky IV because everybody hated the Patriots at that time because they were winning all the time. But then you start seeing Tom Brady make that comeback, and it was like the whole crowd shifted to like, well, I want to see greatness now. I want to see him pull this out of his ass and win this game. And the way that, Edelman catching balls off of tipped passes and stuff like that was it was just a great entertaining game because at first everybody's like, yeah, the Falcons are up, screw the Patriots, we're 60 and them win. And then, this could happen.
Right.
This could happen. So that was one of my favorite ones.
Yeah. So no, I enjoyed it, but it didn't have the theatrics of past Super Bowls, but it was still a good game. Still a good game.
You know what this was a lot like? This was a lot like the first Giants-Patriots Super Bowl.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Except for even then, they had the first one that was the Tyree catch, right?
Yeah.
Or was that the first one was the Tyree catch.
The Tyree
catch. Second one was the Mario Manningham catch down the sideline. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that still had the David Tyree catch, but still, like it was. And I guess this one had its excitement with Jawan Jennings threw a touchdown to Christian McCaffrey. So like there were still plays that happened, but this was very much like that where you had the Patriots go in there with this all-time offense and undefeated and all the accolades going into the game, and then it just turned into a blah, boring. Tom Coughlin's gonna bore you to death, like Super Bowl.
Give the ball to Tiki Barber.
Yeah,
all the time.
But it was still a good Super Bowl weekend.
It was a good bow to end the season. Good wrap of the season. I thought the playoffs were all entertaining. I was really, if I had one takeaway out of the entire playoffs, it was really exciting to see Detroit and their fan base have something to get excited about this year. I thought that team, despite Dan Campbell doing what he did to lose that game for him, I thought that team, especially being led by rookies and Goff having some sort of a redemption arc, beating Stafford in that first round and then playing I thought he played really well. It was really cool to see that. And so I think next year is going to be, we'll have even more competitive season. I thought this had a lot of parity, even though we ended up with the two favorites probably to start the season. People said Kansas City and San Francisco. If they weren't at the top, they were near the top of everybody who they thought was going to make it, and they did. But yeah, and still, I thought this season was very competitive.
I thought the playoffs and especially the Super Bowl, but it proved what we kind of talked about all season long here, and what we knew is how much further ahead the AFC is over the NFC. I don't care if you put Kansas City, Baltimore, Buffalo. If you put any of those teams, they beat San Francisco. Kansas City, Buffalo, Baltimore, those teams beat San Francisco. And sadly, San Francisco has the better roster than all of them.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, you're right. The AFC was just stronger.
Any of those teams would have beat them.
everybody talked about how, because the NFC for a while had the teams with the best records, because everybody in the AFC was just beating up on everybody else. And so
And the second best team in the NFC was the Paper Tiger. It was Dallas. I mean, they got beat by Green Bay.
Right.
So it was the AFC is just that much better. It's always sad when it comes to an end, but we'll still have plenty more to talk about. I got to bet on something.
Right.
There's things to be had.
Well,
Started to dabble in the college basketball and NBA.
Bet on who's going to win the Defensive Player of the Year next year. That's what we should bet on. Let's see who the league favors next year in week 1 to win it.
Is there a conspiracy now?
This is usually what happens. You know, what new stat will get
TJ
created?
Does TJ Watt still need a tissue?
We need to make up a stat for TJ. You know, some pass rush percentage off the right edge when the right tackle bends a knee or something. I don't know. Like, I'm tired of these PFF rankings. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the awards real quick before I
go ahead and get it off your chest, because you've already been crying about it since December.
No, I was actually cool with Miles winning it.
Not you. I mean, the Steelers fan base has been crying about this since December.
Get it. You know what kind of – it wasn't even Miles. It was Micah that kind of just really riled everybody up with his just straight-up disrespect to TJ. Like, you don't need to take it as far as
the comment where he said that TJ Watt is not a top 5 pass rusher.
Top 5 pass rusher. And then he said, look at the stats. No, what he meant was, look at this one stat that I'm better than him at. Look at this one pass percentage.
Even that, you got Miles, Micah, and TJ, and then who? Max Crosby. Like, he's still a top 5 pass rusher. Even if you wanted to be facetious and put TJ behind yourself and Myles Garrett, at worst he's 3rd, but he's not. He's
arguably the best. Like, you can argue for either of those guys.
So we talked about quarterbacks, right? There's a tier now of Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, huge gap in everybody else.
Right.
Defensive
Aaron Rodgers is probably in between there too, and then everybody else.
Well, we'll see what not for greatest of all time.
Well, as far as playing to position the best, like, he doesn't have the accomplishments, obviously, as Brady and Mahomes. But if you're going to build a quarterback, talent-wise, he's up there.
But if
in that tier.
But when you're talking about defensive pass rushers, it's TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, big gap in everybody else. And that includes Micah Parsons. Like, I'm not talking about output stats. It's just as a pass rusher, as a pass rusher.
Or if you even want to take it a step further and say total impact on the game from a defensive position. Those guys affect the game more than anybody, even more than. And I love the way Max Crosby plays the game, but he just doesn't do enough consistently. He's great against the run.
Yep.
We'll get to a quarterback. He doesn't get to a quarterback as much as he doesn't finish as much as people give him credit for. His sack numbers are never elite. They're just always really good. And he has this thing, like, he's an Iron Man. He plays every snap. And so that's his claim to fame. Like, he's always out there. But
here's the problem I have with it, with the whining that took place. TJ Watt has won it before. Stop acting like the game is rigged against you when you've won it before. Second of all, if you're going to quote us on our podcast, Le'Veon Bell, at least at us.
Can you cite us?
When we said back in December that a big part of the reason that I actually remember verbatim saying, TJ Watt can blame his brother for why he has to live up to a higher standard, and was probably behind Myles Garrett at that time in terms of defensive player of the year.
Right.
Because
I mean, you hit it right on. It's very similar to the NBA and the fact that LeBron doesn't have more than 3 or 4 MVPs. He should have like 7 or 8, but sports writers get fatigue and they don't like writing the same name down over and over again. Okay, but my particular gripe, Micah kind of got the ball rolling with this disrespect. This year seemed weird in the sense that these analytics and the citing of them and people believing that they ultimately are the end all be all has hit a fever pitch this year, more so than any other year.
And it's not just offensive players, by the way. It's not just it's quoted a lot more with defensive players, but the way the analytics have grown and the way Pro Football Focus and these numbers are cited, I think it's trash and it's garbage. And football is not baseball. It's not Moneyball. You cannot do that. And they keep pushing it down this road. You're right. Like it was amplified this year how much they're using advanced metrics and analytics in every position.
In every position. And coaches having the book. Not only do you have a playbook, but now you have a book of analytics. And do you go for it on 4th through 2 or do you not? And if you don't go for it, you get criticized because the analytics that you should have, and vice versa. Like that's just another added layer that I have not liked this year at all. And it has played a role because there are some gullible media types out there that are also lazy. They don't do
lazy.
They don't.
It's lazy.
They're lazy. They don't do their own work. And whenever you put advanced analytics in front of something, it must be true because the nerds did all the work for me. And so
I blame Northwestern, but they either come from Northwestern or Syracuse. That's like 90% of the media is Northwestern and Syracuse. But no,
true.
I'm just kidding. But
this is true.
I had fun with Steelers fans because again they were all playing their little violin and stuff, and it was a good time. And I'll be 100% honest, I can speak to this because the two candidates that were at the top of the list was a Browns player and a Steelers player. The two teams I probably watched the most throughout the season, both from a geographical standpoint and regionally what's on, and then both of them regionally actually, but because they're both equal distance away from me, but it's what's on for purposes of this and what we do. We watch a lot of football, but we get to see. I probably saw 95% of TJ Watt's snaps this year because when the Browns aren't on in Columbus, the Steelers are on, even more so than the Bengals most of the time. There's a larger contingent, especially pre-Joe Burrow, there's a larger contingent of Steelers fans in Columbus than Bengal fans.
The Bengals.
So the Steelers have always been shown a lot here. Now, if it would have been between Myles Garrett or TJ Watt, pick either one, and Aaron Donald or Max Crosby, I wouldn't have been able to speak to it as much, to your point, because I hadn't seen as much as Max Crosby. I don't know, but I watched 100% of Myles Garrett snaps this year and probably 95% of TJ Watt snaps this year. So I'm actually able to speak to it beyond the analytics and what the nerds say and what my eyeballs see. The problem is you have people voting on these that, and let's give a little credit where credit is due, is the award should have come down between those two. That's where they got it right. Those are the two that it should have been between those two. But you can't say, we talked about it earlier with Brock Purdy. You can't tell me all year long that he's an MVP candidate, and then when he doesn't play well, he's just a 7th round pick. Well, you can't whine about a player winning Defensive Player of the Year because they use the stats that you don't like and then quote the stats that your player was favored in. That was the conclusion I was drawing. That was the problem I had with it. TJ Watt did lead in a lot of statistical categories. There's no nuance, though, between the schemes they run, the coaches they have, and the supporting cast. It's just in a vacuum. For example, the Steelers' offense sucked. So did the Browns' offense. You take those stats, though, at the end of the season, because the one stat I kept seeing get put out was Myles Garrett's last 6 games or whatever. When he was playing with one arm, what was one of the biggest factors outside of Ben you and I always talked about that Myles Garrett has an advantage with?
Outside of who?
Outside of his ability to bend around the edge. Myles Garrett's biggest thing that he uses for his advantage is his arms.
Yeah.
He's got freakishly long arms.
Freakishly long arms, and he's freakishly strong. Yeah, he knows how to use them.
So when you take one of his arms away, that impacts his game. Yeah, that doesn't show up in those sets.
I don't like that. Injuries are part of the game.
They are a part of the game.
So that shouldn't be used as a reason.
But just because he didn't.
Them.
So, but now I'm going to give you an example, right? 3rd and 4. 49ers have the ball. Jawan Jennings is wide open. this pass would have ended the game. Brock Purdy throws an incompletion. Why?
Pressure.
Because Chris Jones was in his lap.
Right.
Didn't get a quarterback hit, didn't get a sack, didn't get a tackle, none of that stuff. There's no stat that goes with that.
There's pressure. They got QB pressure for that. I get what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. And so, let me just say this. Like I said, I didn't have a problem with Miles winning it.
I know you didn't.
And that, the last 6 games thing, I get why fans bring that up. And I know the rebuttal to that is what did TJ do during the 3-game stretch where we lost against the 2-game stretch. We lost
the Colts.
3 games.
The Colts, Patriots, and Cardinals.
Right. And so I get all that. Like you can point to either one of them and say they both had a lull at one point or the other. And so my rebuttal to you saying that why do some stats count and some don't? And this is my issue with PFF or these other analyzed or advanced metrics or whatever. The stats that people bring up for TJ are tangible ones. These are what happens when you finish a play. Sacks are the culmination of beating your blocker and getting to the quarterback while he has the ball and getting him down, right? That's what a sack is. Tackle is the same way. Forced fumble, interception. These are things that happen, that finish, that had an impact on the play. Pass rush win percentage, double team percentage. What is that actually pointing to? Okay, you beat your blocker.
I don't like, you don't have to argue the insignificance of Pro Football Focus to me. Okay. But it's the world we live in now. Like that just it is what it is. I like the world when defenders were actually able to tackle players. They're not anymore. It's just it's just the world that we live in now. It sucks. It's not fun. But my thing is when you try to denigrate and act like I don't know how many comments I saw about, well, if you take Myles Garrett off the field, the Browns defense is just as good. No, they're not.
No, they're not. No.
That's asinine.
That is silly.
Stupid. Yeah. And that is who I'm speaking to. I'm not talking to Pro Football Focus is dumb. But to say that the Browns defense is just as good without Myles Garrett on the field it's just dumb. It's not a smart comment at all.
No.
And
Myles deserved it. At the end of the day, if I'm being completely objective and the same thing actually we've benefited from in the past. When James Harrison won his Defensive Player of the Year, he didn't have the most sacks that year. I think DeMarcus Ware did. He had 20 that year.
Aaron Donald. That's what they used for Aaron Donald when he won.
I think when you win it as a D tackle, it's a little bit different because he's a D tackle. So you kind of understand that he won't have the same sack numbers as a edge pass rusher. But at the end of the day,
what I'm saying is that's when I first started noticing them use these stats. Was Aaron Donald.
I got you.
That is who, because he has to take on double teams because of win rate and block percentage. That's what I mean. That's when I first started seeing them implement.
That's when I first started seeing it too. But you also could, like, as a fan, you don't even need to hear those stats. You can see the damage that Aaron Donald.
If you watch
football, and so like you understood why he won it. He was the best player of the year 4 or 5 years.
Absolutely.
And like, there's an argument for him to win it even this year. But at the end of the day, Myles deserved it because he's the best player on the best defense in the league, or at least from probably some metrics, the best defense.
Even if it was closer, like you don't go from best player on best defense in the league to best player on 21st ranked defense in the league. And that's what the Steelers were.
We were 6th in points per game, though. So that's another argument that we've had a discussion about what you consider the best defense. The one that gives up the least amount of points or the one that gives up the least amount of yards.
And
but
again,
we don't got to get.
No. Well, what I'm going to say is our point in that, though, is there's nuance to all of that because
both
your points. If you take away the points that our offenses gave up, both the Steelers and the Browns, they're both probably top 5 in points allowed because our offense damn sure gave up a lot of points with turnovers.
Right.
I would much rather see a stat. It's kind of like quarterbacks, right? I hate seeing quarterbacks get attributed an interception that bounces off a player's hand.
Yeah.
Like that drives me nuts. I also hate seeing quarterbacks get passing yards for yak. Like it works both ways.
80 yards. It does. It works both ways.
It works both ways. So I would much rather see them put their energy into fixing stats like that than pass block win percentage.
Yeah.
Again, I think Pro Football Focus is stupid, and it's designed for people to be lazy and not have to actually watch the games and come up with an opinion. Because if I'm going to vote, I'm going to get film on Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, Trey Hendrickson, Aaron Donald, and you sit and you watch them game by game. Or give up your vote. Point blank, period.
Yeah.
It's the same problem I have with college football. Don't let coaches have a say in a coaches poll that goes into the bigger weight. Remember back in the BCS days, the coaches poll was a part of that equation for the BCS poll because coaches aren't watching these games. They're waking up, looking at the score. Oh, they won by 17, cover the spread. Cool. Check it off. Well, they didn't know that it was a pick six in the last minute, and they struggled till the fourth quarter to win that game. They just saw 17-point win, covered the spread. So it's just another tool for laziness and another analytics-driven thing that we're on the same page with that. And to be fair, if TJ Watt would have won it, I'd have had no problem with it. We did our MVP list back in December, and TJ and Myles were both on my MVP list at that time.
Right.
This is before both of them got hurt.
So, I mean, we get it. It's controversy. It's always going to be controversy between the Browns and the Steelers when one
Stop crying.
Won something over.
Stop crying.
It's not crying. It's
not
venting
you.
our emotions.
It's crying.
It's venting.
You got
okay. There's a difference.
Such
you can't just let it go.
Entitled fan base. Anything that doesn't go the Steelers' way, there's so much whining and crying when things don't go your way.
There's justification for this, though. There's justification for feeling a little slighted, but nevertheless. So we got that out the way.
They cared as much about their quarterback that they drafted in their first round being bad as they did the Defensive Player of the Year.
Don't get me started. You saw that we released who I thought was going to be our starting quarterback back in 2022. Mitchie? We released him.
Now stupid Browns fans want to sign him because he's from. This is again, Steelers fans are like emotional whiners when things don't go their way. Browns fans are like from Cleveland, like they're the guy at the bar that the waitress is like, "Hey, sweetheart," and he's in love. Like that's Browns fans as a whole. I love my Browns. I love my fan base, but they just need a little wink, and they're like,
"Oh, tap on the shoulder." Oh,
so you're telling me there's a chance?
She likes me.
What should we name our children? And then he is going back to that bar 5 nights a week for the next 6 months.
Yep.
Even though she's told him, "I'm married, sweetheart." Oh, she called me sweetheart. Didn't hear the married part. Just heard sweetheart. Like that's Browns fans are like,
I would love to see Trubisky in a Browns uniform. That would make my day.
Browns fans are like, "Oh, he's from Cleveland. He loves Cleveland." Come on down. There's plenty of room over here.
Yeah. We released our punter too, you saw that one coming a long time. He probably cost us a game or two. Our punter did. The one that we actually drafted. Presley Harvey.
The playoff game he was really bad in?
Yeah. He's been inconsistent and bad all year, or for the last 2 years. And then we released our starting right tackle to start the year, Chooks Okorafor, who we had just paid starting right tackle money 2 years ago, and now he's gone. So we're starting it off early and quick. But I just had to bring that up. But before we get past that,
ripping the Band-Aid.
Did you agree with all the other awards that were given out?
MVP, Lamar Jackson. CJ Stroud's definitely Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Agreed. Will Anderson.
I mean, we when we did our MVP list, Lamar was at the top of mine very early on. And my only thought for him not winning it was how infatuated people were with Purdy's story. If San Francisco would have beat them in that game earlier in the season, I could have seen them shifting away from Lamar. But that definitely solidified it back then. When they beat San Francisco, he was the MVP for me.
So his MVP, we agree. He should have won it. He had that type of year. But it's going to be interesting when you look back at this MVP in years later on and you look back, his numbers are not MVP numbers at all. No. It's not even close to it. He's had better non-MVP seasons than what he had this year.
Well, it's a regular season. It's a regular season award. I think Josh Allen made a push at the end.
I think Lamar won because he played big in the big games.
In the brightest moments.
Yep, he played big in the big
on
games in the
prime
regular
time,
season.
and it's a
I think
regular season award.
That San Francisco game sealed the deal. How that whooping they put up on the 49ers, I think sealed the deal.
And the Dolphins, because people were also trying to put Tua up there too for a while. So, and the Dolphins. Defensive Rookie of the Year was Will Anderson. Yeah.
They had the kid Kobe for the Rams, who came on hot at the end of the year.
Yeah.
He had like 9 sacks in like 6 games or something. And then you had Devon Witherspoon for the Seahawks, who I think is going to be a player in this league for a while. He was up for it. I'm trying to think who was the other. There weren't a whole lot of rookies making big splashes this year, not like in years past. Because the year before, really Sauce Gardner.
Yeah.
And so
that's the New York market and stuff too. So it's going to be hyped up with that.
Most improved or comeback player of the year was.
So I think they got it. It was such a story award. Like Joe Flacco had that the minute he had that stretch of 3 games where he threw for 300 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that he won that because of the story. I think it could have went to Baker Mayfield. Yeah. I truly think that because I loved it for me, but Flacco's run was so short. It was 5 weeks. I think it could have went to Baker Mayfield. I think it could have went to Matthew Stafford.
Yeah. I agree with both. I think Baker should have won it. I honestly think Baker should have won it, especially the way he ended the year. I mean, he had a good stretch. He had like a couple of bad games to end the season, but before that, he had like a 3-game stretch where he brought Tampa back and they ultimately won the division. And so, if playoff games counted, I think he definitely would have won it. But it's a regular season award. He played well in the playoffs. Yeah, and so
he did play well in the playoffs. It's just, to me, that award it's getting annoying to me because it's turning into a quarterback award too.
Yeah.
Like it's just really turning into a quarterback award. So
offensive player of the year. So we all thought CMC would win this one, but
that's where I would have gone.
If Tyreek hadn't have got hurt.
If Tyreek Hill wouldn't have gotten hurt, it would have been Tyreek Hill. He would have broke records.
He would have broke records, yeah. And then CMC, as great as year as he had, and you can see how dominant he was. Not his best year. He had a much better year in Carolina when he had like 1,300 yards rushing and 1,100 yards receiving or something silly. But he had like 20 touchdowns this year. But I thought he deserved it. It was clear that he was dominant this year. It was clear that they wouldn't be the team they are without him.
He's should have got more of a nod for MVP too, but he's going to suffer similarly for how stacked that team is.
Yeah.
Like for example, like next year, if all goes right, I would put money on it right now that Justin Herbert is the comeback player of the year next year.
Okay. Yeah, let's
just because he's hurt.
Let's go ahead. Let's run down our predictions for next year's awards. You got Justin Herbert as comeback.
Justin Herbert. Let's pick one quarterback and one non-quarterback.
I'm gonna go with Kenny.
I'm gonna go Herbert and Nick Chubb.
Ah, that's a good one. Nick Chubb, definitely.
People like him.
I was gonna say Kenny Pickett just to get on your nerves, but comeback player of the year.
Is he coming back to Pitt? Can be a coach. Did they give that award away in the CFL?
He got one more year to shine, man. Arthur Smith is going to turn him into a Pro Bowler.
Well, I hope that he at least starts the season if they get Tannehill, because he at least has to throw one more touchdown to eclipse Joe Flacco's from December for his career.
Low blow. That one hurt a little bit. But no, if I had to really seriously say who the quarterback would be, or for next year, comeback player of the year, I'm gonna give it to your boy. I can't do 2 Browns. So let me take Nick Chubb out. I think Deshaun Watson wins comeback player of the year for quarterback. And then at running back, I'll say, or at any other position, I'll say.
You can just go throw Tannehill out there.
Justin Jefferson, will he?
He still played
will
a
he
lot,
be
though.
eligible?
He had over 1,000 yards. I mean, you can pick him. I just don't think that he'll be eligible.
He'll qualify. Okay. I'll just stick with Deshaun Watson. I think he gets comeback player of the year.
I was trying to think of some other outside the box ones for comeback player of the year.
Yeah, that's kind of hard to think about who was hurt.
I mean, Burrow is the obvious other choice.
Oh, Burrow. Yeah. Burrow, Herbert. Because we had a lot of quarterbacks go down.
Yeah. Cousins.
He could definitely win it. Okay, I'll take it back. Nick Chubb for running back. Kirk Cousins for comeback player. Because more than likely, I mean, I think Minnesota will be dumb not to re-sign him.
He wants $40 million. He wants $40 million a year.
He deserves it. I can't even get mad.
There's still a salary cap, though. He's still got
it goes up next year. It goes up.
He's still got to work within the. I guess he did go out there and show the moves at the awards ceremony. Kirk was getting down.
Nobody has pilfered more from the league than Kirk Cousins. He is a contract.
Hey, not the dollar amount, but when you talk about production versus dollars, Chase Daniel is my hero.
Oh, yeah, all day.
Chase Daniel might have 17 career passes, and he somehow made like $30 million in the NFL.
Yeah, he definitely did his thing. He definitely raped the NFL for all that money, but yeah. All right, so MVP. I'm gonna go with a dark horse here.
You go first for MVP.
It's not even a dark horse. But I think he makes a tremendous jump in the second year, which is going to be, if he does, I think he wins the MVP. I'm going to go CJ Stroud for MVP next year.
I think he's going to get a similar push to what we talked about with Miles this year. I'm going to go Dak Prescott with dark horse Jalen Hurts.
I'll go CJ Stroud with Pat Mahomes being the clear favorite. He's already favored to win MVP next year. So, offensive player of the year.
Offensive player of the year, Justin Jefferson.
I'll go Tyreek. I think he eclipses 2,000 next year. You can't not give it to him if he gets 2,000.
Jamar Chase would be my backup.
CeeDee Lamb would be my backup.
If they lose T. Higgins, Chase is going to get even more targets.
I think CeeDee Lamb is my backup. He made a jump this year. He made a jump from just being a good receiver, and now he's legit top three or four. Like Justin Jefferson, Tyreek, Chase, CeeDee Lamb, that group of four wide receivers, right? AJ Brown, top five. You could put them in any order, but I think there's an argument for CD as being the top receiver in the league, either one or two. So I think he comes back and wins that OPOY.
Last one, coach of the year. We're not going to do rookie of the year yet because we got to see where they go in the draft because that matters a lot.
Well, you didn't say defensive player of the year. We're going to do that one.
Oh, defensive player of the year?
For next year.
I think they'll stay away from the mess. I don't think it'll be Miles or TJ next year.
I think Fred Warner wins it.
I'm going to go Nick Bosa.
Really? You think that's soon for a second one, huh?
Nick Bosa won a defensive player of the year already?
Last year.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. I think Fred Warner or
Micah Parsons will be the favorite, but I'm not going to pick the favorite.
The linebacker for the Ravens. If they have another dominant season like they had.
Patrick Queen?
No. I'm drawing a blank.
Roquan.
Yeah. Roquan Smith. Yeah. And then coach of the year. You know, when it comes to coach of the year, they always try to give it. And crazy. I saw a stat the other day. Stefanski has won it twice. Between Chuck Noll, Mike Tomlin, and Bill Cowher, they have won it once. Between the three.
Coach of the year is a stupid award.
I mean, you said it, I didn't. So
no, it just is, and it's good for him. But let's talk about the 2 years he didn't win it.
Yeah.
And for the record, I think D'Amico Ryan should have won it this year.
Yeah, I think D'Amico should have won it this year too.
I still think Stefanski deserved it. He was deserving of the award, but that was a tall task to do what they did with a rookie quarterback from where they were at. And it's not like they overhauled and brought in a bunch of veterans. I mean, it was rookies running around everywhere for the Texans.
Exactly. He did more without the dominant defense that Stefanski had. And they beat Cleveland.
And I think that the tipping point for Cleveland was the schedule and who they did it against and the division they played. Because the AFC South sucked this year.
That's true.
Coach of the year next year. For whatever reason, Sean McVay's name keeps popping in my head.
Go with it. They want it. They always like giving it to first and second year coaches who have turned the team around.
And that's what I'm trying to think of. It's just so hard because it's like the rookie of the year thing. We don't know who's going to be where yet.
Right. And Antonio Pierce, I think a lot of people want him. If the Raiders are competitive,
I think they're going to be bad again next year. I think they'll be bad. And it sucks for him, but they just don't have a quarterback right now.
They don't. But they got Devontae. They got Josh. Well, we don't know if they'll have Josh Jacobs.
Sean Payton will get something figured out there for Denver. They're going to be the worst team in that division again next year.
They don't want it. I'm getting Harbaugh fatigue. I hope they don't give it to Jim. That's the one dude I don't want.
No, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think they'll be good enough. I think they'll be the third best team in that division. I think Denver finishes second. I think Denver finishes second in that division.
Okay.
Yeah, after the Chiefs. Yeah, that's tough because D'Amico Ryans could be right up there, but it depends on what they do.
Steichen. If Steichen does something with Anthony Richardson, I mean, the Colts team were sneaky this year. They beat Baltimore early on. I mean, if they make the playoffs, there was an argument for him doing it with Gardner Minshew with his backup quarterback.
I think Gardner's going to be down there by you next year.
I wouldn't mind it, man.
I think it'd be a good fit in Atlanta.
I think Gardner would be a good fit in Pittsburgh. People haven't been talking about it, but I think Gardner would be a damn good fit.
He'd be cheap, and he'd be okay being a backup.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, by the way, while we have our Roadstradamus hats on, because I've called the Super Bowl and talked about the TJ Watt fatigue. Remember the other thing that we called way back when?
What's that?
We had a little bet, and it hasn't happened yet, but I bet you that Mason Rudolph would not want to come back to Pittsburgh.
Oh, and man, the rumblings are there too. I heard a report saying that he wants a quote unquote fresh start. So
fresh start.
Yeah, you might be onto something, but
I wish my sports betting went as good as my predictions of innate, unquantifiable things, because I can't bet on things like Mason Rudolph's not going to want to go back to the Steelers next year. He's going to want a fresh start. There's nowhere for me to bet that. Find me a betting app to make that happen.
I wonder who's going to pick him up, though, because I wonder if there's going to be a legit market for him, because he found out last year.
It's a backup.
As a backup.
Yeah, as a backup.
He could be a
Raider. He's going to go.
That actually seems like. I think I could see him being a Raider.
That's a.
He seems like that. The name, the black and silver. It just seems like it would be something that they would do, and then they would still bring in a rookie.
You know what I think is? I think that honestly, it could end up being a bidding thing between him and Trubisky to go be a backup for Daboll with the Giants. Because Trubisky knows the system.
Tommy Fingers, or whatever his name is, Tommy Chicken,
Tommy Cutlets, Tommy Cutlets, Tommy Fingers. We got Tommy Tenders,
some kind of protein. Yeah, that's what I was. Yeah, I knew it had something to do with chicken, man. But
well, glad to have you back. We went a little over. We got a lot to get off our chest, but we need to transition to some other sports later on this week. So Let's get
Feels
after
good
some
to be
more
back, my
later
man.
this week. I'm glad that you're healthy and alive, and
I am
the
healthy.
IV worked.
I am hydrated. I'm ready to go this week.
I don't buy the story that you're selling, saying that you were mature and sober and healthy and holistic.
So grown up.
Did you eat anything good out there? Tell me. I don't care about any of the other debauchery. Did you eat anything good in Vegas? What'd you have?
I had this place called El Diablo's. It was the
Yes.
best Mexican I've ever had. Oh my God, it was so
Is
good.
that the one in Mirage?
And the Luxor.
There's one in Luxor?
Yeah. Oh,
how was the Luxor?
It was good. It was good. I had my first time staying there, and it wasn't the most up to date. It is, man. It is
a walk.
Goodness gracious!
You look up, you're like, oh, New York's just right there. No, that's a mile and a half.
Everything looks so much closer to what it is. It's like that, like the T-Rex in Jurassic Park, looking back in their rearview mirror. Everything is closer than it seems. Or yeah. So anyway,
was Max out there?
Max was out there.
How was he doing?
He was good, man. My guy.
I know he got some food.
I know he was working. He was up there working his butt off on Radio Row. So it was good.
He?
Yeah.
Did you get downtown?
No, I didn't get a chance to go downtown. Did not.
Okay.
So
because I know they had like a Radio Row set up down there too.
When we go back, that's where we're going. Me and you together.
Yeah, we'll have to get out there. We got to do this from Vegas.
Got
somewhere. We'll do that. All right, man. I'll get with you later. All right. We'll do it again.